case you just joined, my name is Angel. I'm part of the customer success team here at Hover. I'm going to go ahead and let Anne Marie introduce herself real quick as well.
Absolutely. I'm Anne Marie Thomas. I work with Angel as a customer success manager, and we're really excited to show you all of that Hover Interiors has to offer.
Yes. As a quick reminder, if you have any questions throughout this session, please use the Q&A function or pop them in the chat. Everyone is going to be muted just so we can get through all of the content, but we'll be getting to your questions as we see them. And then any questions that we don't get to during the session, we do have a Q&A dedicated time at the very end for additional questions, and then anything else that we just can't cover for the sake of time, we will send out a recap email and include answers to those questions. Again, welcome to our Hover Interior Storm Season seminar. Let's go ahead and kick it off. We have a quick little poll for everyone. I'm going to launch that right now. Hopefully everyone can see that. We just want to know, what is your familiarity with Hover like? Have you used it before? Maybe you've used it for our exteriors. Maybe you've had a chance to use interiors. Looks like a good mix, but a lot of folks are new. So awesome. We're going to give you a nice overview of all of the basics you need to know to get started. I'm going to give us just a little bit more time for everyone to get a chance to answer the poll.
Oh, looks like we have a lot more that I have not used the Hover Interiors.
A lot of new folks in the room. Very excited. All right. I still see some answers coming in, so I'll just give it a couple more seconds. All right. I'm gonna go ahead and end that so we can get started. Everyone wants to see that good mix. But okay. So we have an awesome agenda of topics to cover today. I'm going to start us off with the why. I know we have a mix of folks in the Zoom today, so I'm happy to talk about why Hover might be a great fit for you. We're going to get right into our storm season best practices for interiors, followed by a look at our deliverables. Anne-Marie is going to take us through an incredible live demo today of our virtual walkthrough, so stay tuned for that. Then she's going to detail exactly how to access and navigate the virtual walkthrough, and highlight some pro tips for getting the highest quality virtual walkthrough with every Hover. Then we're going to talk briefly about the available integrations we have today with our top estimatics platforms, and then go over our most frequently asked questions from insurance pros like you that we've gotten in the past. And then, of course, if you have any questions at the end that we don't get to, we'll have that dedicated Q&A time before we wrap up with some additional resources. So again, please use the Q&A function or the chat to put any questions there. We'll get to any unaddressed questions at the end. And last but not least, we do have a sneak peek for you today about our two newest features, the inspections tool and guided estimates. Both of these are in beta now. And we've been seeing some very exciting use cases from our initial release. So stick around to find out what these features can do for you and how to get in on the early rollout yourself. So the main idea here is that any claim, interior or exterior, can be comprehensively measured and documented all within Hover. We've spent about the last 2-3 years refining our interiors tool with carriers, and over 100,000 interiors have already been hovered. Now, I do want to talk about one of these incredible customer success stories from a top 10 carrier. We've anonymized their name for legal reasons. But the thing I want to talk about is they did an internal study about Hover's accuracy and found that Hover's measurements um, matched their most reliable adjusters within 2% for floors and 3% for walls. The other exciting thing that happened while they were doing this study, if you look at this chart, you'll see that the elective adoption of adjusters grew by 700% by the end of this study. And that was just because they were so excited to see how well Hover works. And I think that's going to be your experience too. Um, the gist of this, though, is with all of that accuracy and the incredible reporting that we give you, the experience itself of using the app is so simple. We've designed it to take all the guesswork out of the process, and so that you can capture the large parts of a structure in a single photo for exteriors, and the inside of the home is no different. We've built a very simple experience. We call it a scan. It'll be a video-like experience. We're going to show you what that looks like. But as you can see in these examples, you're just taking a video. To talk about turnaround time for our non-LiDAR device agnostic flow, our universal scan, you're looking at about a 3-hour turnaround time. And for those of you who have a LiDAR enabled device, you're going to get an instant turnaround time. So all of the data, all of the reporting and virtual walkthrough um, in about a minute. So again, while you're having the video-like experience, Hover is going to be detecting the corners. We're going to remove the obstructions and we're going to calculate those measurements. You're going to get the walls, floors, doors, windows, cabinets, openings, square footage, floor plans, and detailed floor room views all in that data package. So how do you get started? So once you've downloaded the Hover app to your smart device, it's going to look just like this, a blue tile with the Hover logo. And this is the first screen you're going to see when you open it. If you're new to Hover here, so we know a lot of you are new on the call today and you haven't created an account yet, you're going to go through the setup flow selecting I'm an insurance pro. Otherwise, you can hit the login at the bottom if you already have a Hover account. Now, I want to call out here specifically, if you're an independent adjuster, feel free to create your own account. But if you do work for a specific carrier, make sure you reach out to your company leadership in case you need to sign in to a specific email or a specific account using your company email. So just a call out there. All right, so we want to talk a little bit, since storm season is already underway, about our best practices and tips for getting prepared during this time. So the first one is you can actually create your hovers ahead of time. And we're going to show you what that looks like. So you'll create the hover job as a draft. Maybe you're going out to multiple properties in the same day or multiple across that week. You can set them all up ahead of time so that when you get on site, you're just more efficient and faster. The second one here is keep your Hover app up to date. So we are constantly iterating on our side on feedback that you all give us. We take it very seriously, which means we are rolling out new app versions all the time. So we recommend just enable auto updates. You can do this in your device settings, and that'll just ensure you have the most up-to-date version all the time. Right now, we are rolling out 5.13.0, so you may have access to that already, or you should be on 5.12.1. If you're on any version earlier than that, you're going to want to make sure to update your app. The next one here is to pack your work lights, headlamps, or flashlight with you when you're going out to do hovers for the day. We just recommend you have it, especially if you're going out to properties that maybe have no power, and so that you can illuminate the interior space as best as possible. The last one here is to use our upload on Wi-Fi only setting. I'm going to show you what that looks like. But the gist is, while Hover doesn't require network or Wi-Fi connection to actually do the scan itself, you will need some sort of connection to upload the scan to get the report. So you'll be able to do Hover without any power, without any access to network, but you're going to want to have that access when you're ready to upload. So turning on this setting basically prevents the upload from trying to upload itself until you've connected to reliable Wi-Fi, just to ensure nothing gets lost and you have the smoothest experience. So as I was talking about earlier, here's where you can check your app update. So you'll go to your settings. It's this little person icon in the bottom right when you log into the app. And you'll just scroll all the way down on your settings. You'll see the version at the very bottom. So again, if you're not on 5.12.1 or 5.13, make sure you go to your app store and get updated. And this is the how you're going to turn on the upload on Wi-Fi setting that I talked about. So my recommendation, if you know you're going out to properties that are not going to have reliable network or Wi-Fi, just go ahead and turn this setting on. It'll be in your account settings, the little person icon, account settings, and this upload on Wi-Fi toggle. Now, as a reminder, if you do turn this on, you're going to want to make sure you reopen the Hover app whenever you get to reliable Wi-Fi and just make sure that the upload goes to 100%. So, oh, did I skip it? My apologies. There we go. So if for whatever reason, your upload is going and maybe you get an important call that you have to take, or you're just in a spotty Wi-Fi area and your upload doesn't finish to 100%, that's okay. You can restart the upload yourself. You don't need to reach out to customer support. To do that, you're going to go to the little person icon, your account settings. There's this section that says Uploads Manager. When you click on that, you're going to want to toggle on uploading details. It'll have a drop down. It'll just have like line items of any jobs that you have in uploading, and you'll just tap on them to get them restarted. You're going to want to leave the Hover app open when you're doing your interior scan and when you're uploading it. You don't want to background it for any reason. So again, taking a phone call, sending a text, playing Candy Crush, all of those things will background the app and will pause the upload. It'll sit there paused indefinitely. So just make sure, again, if you get interrupted during the upload at all, just make sure you come check on the uploads manager and confirm that your upload went to 100%. But again, you can do this right within your mobile app. All right. So the gist though is that Hover Interiors is extremely easy to use. So let's break down the process in depth. Getting started with the interior scan is very similar for those of you who have used the exterior product before. You're going to either hit this start button on the home page where it says start your project, or you can hit this little plus sign here. Either one will start the process. You'll select the deliverable. Of course, you're going to use interiors. If you're doing an interior, you'll fill out the property information and then get started. Now, we talked about setting up a draft though. So if you want to set up a draft and you're not ready to go actually get started on site, you'll go through this whole process. And instead of hitting the get started button, you're just going to hit this X here in the upper left corner. Then it's going to ask you, do you want to save it as a draft? You'll hit yes. And you can do that for however many hovers you want. And then when you're ready to go on site, you'll find the draft job listed right within your properties. It'll be this little square icon with the 4 squares. You'll see all of your different jobs here. Or you can use the search button in the upper right. Using this search, you'll either be able to type in the property address, the claim number, or the hover job ID if you know it already. Any of those will pop up the draft job that you're looking for. You'll just simply tap on it when you're ready to start doing the scan itself on site. All right, so let's talk about what the actual universal interior scan looks like. Again, this is our device agnostic flow. So whether you have an Android, an old iPhone, a tablet, an iPad, this process will work. We have a nice tutorial video for you that's going to show you from your actual experience of doing the scan itself, what it's going to look like. After we play the video, we'll break apart the most important bits for you in detail. So let's take a look.
Hi, I'm Kristen with Hover. In this video, I'm going to walk you through how to get a detailed measurement, sketch, and virtual walkthrough of an interior space with just an app on your phone. From start to finish, scanning an entire property only takes 10 to 15 minutes, approximately 2 minutes per room. And typically, within 3 hours, you'll receive a measurement report with a full 3D floor plan, a virtual walkthrough, room views, and details on cabinets, walls, windows, openings, doors, and more. And then all that information, including any photos you took of the property, can then be automatically imported into your estimation software like Verisk, Xactimate, or Cotality's Claims workspace. All right, let's get started. First, open the doors to the rooms you plan to scan and turn on the lights. Then use the plus and minus buttons to input how many floors or levels you're expecting to scan overall. Each level will be captured separately, and the app will guide you on how to scan additional floors later on. Next, you'll have the option to add damage photos. If you have no damage photos or don't need to capture them separately, feel free to skip this step. If you do choose to take photos, take as many as you need. There's no limit. Any damage photos taken are included in the final hover package and can be saved to your device based on your app settings. Next, you'll see a couple of short instructions. Essentially, focus on one room at a time, and as much as possible, try to keep the floor and ceiling in the frame while scanning. It's okay if it doesn't happen all the time, just try your best. Select a label for the room you're about to scan. We recommend starting in the corner of the largest room first, making sure to point your camera at the opposite corner. For larger spaces or rooms with tall ceilings, try to stand far enough away with your back to the closest wall to get the floor and ceiling in the frame, and then move around the room, keeping as much of the space in the frame as possible. Walk the perimeter, stopping where you started. There's no need to move or step on furniture, just navigate around it the best you can. For smaller spaces like a bathroom or closet, start the scan from the outside of the room, standing far enough away so the doorway, floor, and ceiling can all be seen in one frame. Then walk into the room, moving your camera in a slow up and down motion to capture the floor and ceiling. Whenever possible, walk into every part of the space to ensure you've scanned all the walls. Once you're done with your first room, choose whether to scan another space. If you do have another space to scan and it's on the same level, keep your phone up while you walk to the next space. The next room must be adjacent to the space you just scanned. One thing to note, hallways and landings should always be scanned as their own space, especially if they connect other rooms you want included in the final output. Just keep your phone up and walk straight ahead. Once you've reached the end of the hallway, turn around to show the connection to the previous room before starting the scan for the next room. You repeat the scanning process for as many rooms or spaces as you need. Remember, for the best experience, try to keep the floor and ceiling in frame as much as possible. Walk slowly around the perimeter of the room and point your camera toward the center of the room. Once you're finished with the current level, review the photos taken, and then either start a new level or submit the project. Keep the Hover app open until the scan status moves to evaluating. We'll notify you via email once the measurements, sketches, and virtual walkthrough are ready for review.
Okay, as we saw, doing the scan is guided. You're going to get reminders throughout the way of what to do. And if you're moving too fast or there's not enough light, the app is going to actually give you a little warning message right within it. So again, the guesswork is gone. Now, I just want to call out two important things to note. You're going to need to go room by room. So make sure that if you want to generate a single connected floor plan, you're going to have to make sure you get the hallways in between the rooms. So just make sure as you're moving throughout the space, each room that you scan needs to be adjacent right to the one you just previously scanned. And that does include hallways. We're going to treat hallways as their own separate room. Same for closets. Additionally, each floor is going to be treated as a separate hover order. Meaning that, so similar to how detached structures for exteriors, for those of you who have used exteriors, are separate hovers, each floor of a interior scan is going to be a separate hover. So again, at the beginning, you can select how many floors you're planning to do. Just make sure you don't mix 2 floors on the same scan. And while we're here, I also want to call out, do not scan while walking up and down stairways. Since those are kind of the in between 2 floors, we don't want to scan while walking on stairways. So for example, if you have a 2-floor scan to do the first floor. Hover is not going to give you the measurements of the individual staircase, but we will give you the walls surrounding those stairs. So those will be included in the first floor plan. Submit it, then walk up the stairs, then start your second floor scan. So again, as you get started, the first thing you're going to do is select how many floors you have to scan. Then you're going to be asked if you have any damage photos you want to take. If you do, take as many as you want. There's no limit. These photos can also be saved individually to your device, depending on your app settings. But I also want to call out any photos that you take here will also be included in the data package in the end as well. Once you're ready to get started with scanning the room itself, you're going to select a label, and then depending on the label, we may ask you about the size. Now, the reason that we're going to ask you for this information is that the app is so smart, it's going to customize the instructions that it gives you based on the room label and the size. So for example, if you look at the middle screen here with the large to medium room, the recommendation here is you're going to walk the perimeter of the room with your back to the closest wall and your device pointed at the center of the room. You're actually scanning the opposite wall. So you're going to do that as you make a full lap around the room, stopping where you started. For smaller spaces, things like bathrooms, closets, things that you may not be able to get in and walk the perimeter, you can actually stand in the entryway and do what we like to call the paint the walls method. So you're going to take your device, you're going to pan it slowly up and down, left to right, making sure as if you were painting the walls of the room, making sure you're getting everything in. If you can walk in even just a little bit, we recommend that you do, and then just do the paint the walls method. But again, you're welcome to stand right in the doorway. For hallways, so again, we're treating hallways as separate rooms. For those straight sort of corridors, you're just holding your device right in front of you as you walk from one end to the other. And then when you get to the end, you're just turning around and making sure you're getting a final scan of what you just walked down. Once you're done with your first room, you're going to choose whether or not to scan another room. If you have another one to scan and it's on the same floor, you'll just keep your phone up as you walk from whatever room you're standing in into the next room before starting that room scan. You're going to repeat this process for as many rooms as you have. Once you're done with the current floor, you can review the photos you've taken and the scans. As you see here, we'll have these labels broken out by room. And you can either submit the project or start another floor. If you do have another floor to scan, again, remember the current floor you finished will be submitted, and then you're going to start the second floor scan. Now, while they are going to be treated as separate projects in Hover, you can always import these into Xactimate or Cotality or your estimating platform and merge them later on into the same sketch. Depending on the size of the floor plan, we may prompt you to give us a reference measurement. This won't always happen, but if it does happen, again, the app is going to guide you through what you need to do. You'll just tap on that Measure Now button, and then you'll select one of the background photos that Hover took on your behalf. So again, you're having a video-like experience. Hover is snapping hundreds of individual photos in the background for you. You'll select one of those photos. You'll use your fingers to place the endpoints. So for example, if you're measuring the door, you'll type in the hand measurement there and submit it. We'll take care of the rest. As a reminder, for this universal scan, the turnaround time is about 3 hours. You're going to receive the measurement report, which will include the 3D floor plan, a virtual walkthrough, room views, details on cabinets, walls, windows, openings, doors, and more. All right, so let's shift gears into the LiDAR scan. Before I talk about the LiDAR scan itself, I want to pause and clarify that the LiDAR is available for those of you who have an Apple device 12 Plus Pro or newer. If you do not have this type of device, you just will only see the universal scan experience. As a simple way to check, if you have that fourth little lens on the back of your device, you have a LiDAR. Now, if you prefer to use the universal scan, no worries. You can always toggle between them if you have a LiDAR enabled device. That'll be available in your settings, account settings. It's this toggle here, interior LiDAR scan. Now, again, the default though, for those of you who have a LiDAR enabled device, is that this will be on. So you'll have the LiDAR experience, but you can always turn it off. All right, so let's talk about the LiDAR scan. The key difference between the universal and LiDAR scan is just really the turnaround time. The LiDAR scan is going to build itself in real time. So as you go from room to room, you're going to see the model form itself right in the bottom of your screen as you go. This instant modeling makes it an ideal option for those of you who want to settle your claims on site, or just really need that quick turnaround time. So we have the breakout of the process coming up next. So I will take you through that and show you it looks a bit like magic. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to see a couple of short instructions. For each space that you scan, you're just going to walk around the room pointing your device at one wall after the other. You're going to do your best to keep the floor and ceiling in frame as much as possible. You're going to see white lines begin to form and outline the corners of the wall and all of the different aspects of the room as you go. And you'll see the little model forming itself in the bottom of your screen. After you scan each room, you'll have the opportunity to review the model. So as you see in the second screen here, this is what it's going to look like. We recommend that you really take the 10 to 20 seconds to rotate that model, pinch, zoom in on it, make sure that all of the openings are there, all of the cabinets are there, all of the walls are there. If anything is missing, you can always rescan that room. But we recommend you really take the time to QA it yourself. Again, because you're getting the report instantly, Hover doesn't have the opportunity to QA your report like we do with the universal scan. So it's really like a self QA. What you see is what you get. If it's not included in that little preview model, it's not going to be in the report. So once you get started though, your device is going to calibrate. This is that last screen you see here on the right. That's the calibration. This is just an Apple device requirement that allows us to accurately process where you're at as you're moving through the space. For this, you're just going to start moving your device around the room to get started. Put it up and down, left to right, as if you're painting the walls. This process should only take a couple of moments, and then you'll get started right into the scan. So you really want to point your camera at the corner of a wall, the top edge of a wall, so it can pick up that corner, and then you'll see the white lines forming. Once you see the white lines forming, you know that it's done calibrating and you're actually doing the scan. Again, this should only take a couple of moments. And again, with this real-time feedback, you can easily tell if any part of the model is not generating properly. So if you're not seeing the white lines forming, try to scan it from a different angle yourself around. If it's really stubborn, we recommend just move on from that area of the room, finish scanning the rest of the room, then come back to that area. Usually that gets it to pick everything up. Do not worry about climbing on any furniture or moving any furniture. This goes for the universal scan as well. There's no need to move it. Hover is very robust. It will pick up the measurements even with clutter, and we'll show you some examples of what that looks like later on. So once you're done scanning the room though with the LiDAR scan, you'll review the model. Like I said, make sure you take the time to review it. You can either rescan at this point or hit confirm. After you've done that, it'll ask you if you want to add any photos. So you can take, again, as many photos as you want at this point before moving on to scanning your next room. This manual process of taking photos, again, all of these photos that you take at this point are going to be saved to your device. You're going to repeat the process of scanning the room, taking any photos if you'd like as you move throughout the space. Once you're finished with the current floor, you'll be able to again review the whole floor plan together one more time before you submit the project. At this point, you can also edit the room names. So if you want to customize what these labels are, you absolutely can. You'll just tap the little pencil icon and fill in the name. Just make sure, again, you're not scanning while walking up and down the stairs when you're submitting this one single floor plan. Once you're completely done with however many floors that you want to do, you'll hit submit and keep the Hover app open while it loads. Again, remember, you'll see a nice little pizza tracker with the percentage. Make sure it gets to 100% and then moves into evaluating. Evaluating is the keyword you want to see to know that you're good to close out the Hover app. Everything's good to go. Some best practices just for LiDAR specifically, make sure that you are moving around. We don't want you to stand in the center of the room and just spin and do a 360. We really want you walking the perimeter. So to make sure that we pick up all of the walls and the center of the room so you get the floor measurements accurately. The second one here is focus your device on the edges of the room. So make sure that you're seeing those white lines outlining the ceilings and the corners and the baseboards clearly. The third one here is you want to stay about 5 to 15 feet from the walls. You don't want to be up close to the wall, scanning it super close. We want you standing far enough away that we can see the ceiling and the floor in space. You'll just move closer as needed to improve accuracy on any details, but make sure you're keeping some distance. We also know reflections come up a lot. So if you're scanning like a mirror or walls with glass on them, make sure that you get multiple angles. So again, move around and make sure you're angling yourself so that we get a chance to pick up any reflective surfaces. And with that too, make sure that your sensor is clean. There's nothing worse than doing the scan and then realizing the quality was bad because you had a big thumbprint on the lens. So just make sure you give it a nice little wipe before you go. And then the last one here is make sure that your battery is at 30% or more. We have noticed that a low battery percentage can impact the performance of the app just because your device is struggling to power, whatever's going on in there. So make sure you're at about at least 30%. For open floor plans specifically, we get a lot of questions about this. You're going to treat each area as its own room. So for example, if you have a kitchen and a dining room that are like an open floor plan, we still want you to treat the kitchen as the kitchen and the dining room as the dining room. The way that you're going to do that is when you're doing the scan, you're going to stand with your back towards the kitchen while you're scanning the dining room. And then do the same for the kitchen. Keep your back to the dining room while you scan the kitchen. Make sure it only picks up that space. And then once you're done with that room, you'll click move on and then scan that other room. Okay, so in terms of once you're getting back the deliverables, the virtual walkthrough itself, there are multiple ways to get to the virtual walkthrough. The first one here is just within the job page. So when you log into your Hover account and you go to the actual job page itself, you'll see a button for virtual walkthrough and measurements, but you're also going to get an email. So when the report is finished, we're going to email you and let you know. We're going to include the measurement PDF. There's a hyperlink to the virtual walkthrough on the first page of the measurement PDF. There's also going to be a hyperlink if you use Xactimate. This is only available for Xactimate right now. So if you use it, when you import the sketch, there'll be a hyperlink right within there as well for you to access the virtual walkthrough. We recommend you have it open on a separate tab so that you can easily revisit the space if you need to check on anything while you're working on the estimate. All right, I'm going to pass it over to Anne-Marie to take us through the virtual walkthrough demo and beyond.
Thank you so much, Angel. Awesome information. A lot of stuff I didn't get to in the Q&A, a lot of chats. I think I was able to get to everything. One thing to note, a lot of the questions will be answered throughout this, so just make sure you're paying attention, and we'll also show you all the resources, way to get to all the how-tos. You'll be able to review videos, step-by-step instructions, everything you need. Yes, we do offer, you can send invitations to homeowners for this, and we have a whole section in our resource center on how to do that as well, just to answer a couple of those questions. One of the big ones was about open floor plans, and Angel just went over the best way to process that. Now it's still going to show as one big room, And you will need, if there are any flooring transitions, you will need to update that within your Xactimate or Cotality sketch itself, but it is through our integration, fully editable. And we'll go over that at the end, talking about our integrations and things like that. But right now, I'm going to go ahead and steal the screen and talk about our virtual walkthrough. All right. Perfect. All right, so Angel already went through where you can find our virtual walkthrough. Now I'm going to go through our virtual walkthrough demo here. Now, with the universal scan, you receive a link to this feature. One thing to note, this is available on a limited basis for our LiDAR customers. You should also be able to receive this universal walkthrough as well. And one of the great things about it is that you're able to view that after the fact. If there's something you can remember, you can look live while you're there. So I've pulled up this house here just to show you what that actually looks like. So what we're looking at here, I'm going to show you some of the things around this screen. So we have our virtual. So that means you're going to see that photo mesh overlay over everything. But we also have our 3D version. So if you didn't want any of the photo noise and just wanted to see the basic structure of those rooms, we provide that to you as well. But you can still see our photo overlay while you're seeing that. So right now down here, this is going to tell you what type of view you're in. You can do a wall search. I'm going to show you how to add a measurement. You can also add annotations with them and then look at the photos directly. So all of these things are available to you. So again, we have our dollhouse version. Next, we have our top-down version that's going to show you, it'll show you where these little white dots are all of the background images that were captured during the scan. And the scan is available for both. There were some questions, is the scan just LiDAR? It's scanning for both. It's just taking background images while you're scanning so you don't have to stand there and take photos. For those of you, I saw some notes in the comments in the chat that the previous versions you had to take static photos walking around and keep clicking that photo button. You don't have to do that anymore. It's basically a video. You're walking around, it gets all the imagery you need. This also shows you the pattern, the walking pattern. So for those very large rooms, you want to make sure you're doing that sort of circling around, following the perimeter of the room. You just have to walk down the hallway. Smaller rooms is that painting method. If you have a large room with really tall ceilings, you're going to use the painting method as well for those vaulted ceilings. If you have even if it's considered a larger room, but you still can't back up far enough due to, furniture and other stuff in the room to get the wall, the ceiling, and the floor in the screen, you're going to use that painting method. Just scan the space as best you can, and we'll be able to deliver those measurements and this virtual walkthrough. So one thing I want to note, there's no damage here, but if you were to take photos under the damage label, they would show up as red bullseyes. So it's going to be a red dot so you can easily identify where that damage was located and see those photos. As I'm pausing here, it's going to show you those photos on this top down. Again, you can view either virtually or in 3D, and you can see, yes, we do provide cabinet measurements and built-in measurements for your report. So let's pop in here. If I click on a photo, it's going to take me there, and it's going to overlay the background image that was taken over this virtual walkthrough. So if you see some things that are a little wobbly here, a lot of times it's just how steady you are as you're taking your scan, but you can always overlap that with a photo. So you can go to a previous photo, walk through that way. It's going to clear it up to see a really clear view. You can see all of your outlets, your baseboards, your floors and flooring transitions. You can download that photo if you need just that particular photo. You can go to the next photo, or we can close photos out and you're just going to do a free roam here. So right now we're in our free roam option. So we're just walking around this blue circle. If you click on it, it's going to take you to that area. I'm going to click on this, and it's going to show that clear photo image there, right? I'm going to keep moving around. I'm going to close this out. And again, we didn't scan this space. It's just background imaging. So if I were to click on the photo, we see a clear view of that doorway there. I'm going to come back over this way. I'm going to click on these photos and seeing that area there. Now, if I wanted to do a quick measurement, we have that option down here, this add measurement option. So while I'm in the virtual walkthrough, if I just want to see one end to another, I'm going to click this add measurement. It's going to give me this. You've got the option to snap to or not. So I'm going to click, I'm going to put the first bubble there, and then I'm going to drag it across to where I want it to end to give me that measurement, and it's going to give you that measurement there. You can keep it there while continuing to scan, or you can come back from it, but you can do that in any portion. This is really great when you have flooring transitions, especially in those open, like we said, this is basically an open floor concept here. So if there was flooring transition here, you can measure from where that flooring transition started to the wall within that virtual walkthrough to add those measurements. We are working on providing flooring transitions within the measurement report itself, but for right now, this is the best option to get those changes. Again, just wandering around, looking at photos. It's a great way to understand what you're looking at. Just remember where that, if there was damage, we would click on that. You could give you a close up of that damage and get that full area. So that's just an example of everything we're able to do with this virtual walkthrough. And you get it for both options. So with, you may need to request it to be turned on for you. If you have LiDAR, you just simply talk to support. Most of the questions can be answered with support or go to our help center, which we'll talk about towards the end of this. So now that I've shown you an example of what that virtual walkthrough looks like, let's talk about best practices to make sure you get a very clear and concise virtual walkthrough. So high quality virtual walkthrough, and this is a great example of a universal walkthrough. It's not LiDAR. This is your simple universal walkthrough where you're walking around. This person stayed in the middle and just spun around instead of following the perimeter of the room. So this is an example of a virtual walkthrough going and following that perimeter of the room. You don't need to move furniture. You don't need to walk on furniture. Simply maneuver around it the best you can. And we're able to provide you with that very clear view that you can see the middle of the room. So here we see we got a full circle. When you stand in the center and just spin to take your photos, it's going to miss all of the flooring and the details from the center of the room. Another example is walk with your back to the closest wall facing the opposite side of the room, as we were saying. So, and this is both for both LiDAR and universal. You don't want to be just scanning the walls. It's instinct to kind of want to do that. I understand. But try to, when you get to that wall, try to back up to the furthest wall opposite that to get all of those details. Again, scanning the area as you're walking around, just walk around furniture as best you can. If you can't back up far enough to get that ceiling line and the floor line, simply do that painting method, just coming in here and panning up and down. And then same thing for the LiDAR. So especially with LiDAR, because we want to see these lines snap, as Angel was talking about, your instinct is to get as close to the wall to get that to happen. Don't do that. Simply turn around, get your back to the wall and face the opposite wall, and those lines will still snap too. There were a lot of questions on what to do in a commercial situation, like a warehouse. For the LiDAR, for the universal, that's fine. You're still walking the perimeter, scanning as you go. For LiDAR, there is that you don't want to be more than 15 feet away from the wall. So if you do have a scenario where the opposite wall from the wall you're scanning is more than 15 feet, you're simply going to walk up to that wall and make a little perimeter in the middle. So you're still not standing in the middle and scanning. You're just going to back up and walk with that wall all the way around until you get those details. So yes, it can work for those commercial buildings. It can work if there's tables in the way. And we'll go over those details in a moment. But just remember to give yourself enough distance from that wall. Make sure you're scanning everything. For the LiDAR, just make sure you're reviewing the diagram that is being built in real time, because if it's not built here, it's not going to be on your measurements. So you want to make sure you're seeing that. Now, one thing I do want to note with LiDAR in image here as you're scanning, it's going to pick up things like couches and furniture. Those will not be included in the report itself. The only thing included in the report, your walls, your ceiling perimeter, your flooring perimeter, cabinets and built-ins, windows, doors, all of your openings. So things like furniture and other blocks like showers and things are not currently available at this time. All right, let's talk about our integrations. So we work with everyone that you do. We work with top industry to ensure there's no friction in your workflow for easier change management. We do have automated integrations with Xactimate, XactAnalysis, Claims Connect, and many others. We have direct integrations with Xactimate and Cotality, formerly CoreLogic. We have partnerships with over 150 other platforms that you can integrate with. We also have open APIs to create custom integrations as well. One thing to note with our Xactimate and our Cotality integrations is you do have to have those enabled. But if you don't have the integration enabled, you can still upload the ESX files or the XML file for Cotality. Just know they might not be as editable as with our integrations. Now, again, what you get with that is our full data package. You get that full measurement report with all your walls. You get walls with or without openings, your windows, your doors, your cabinetry. You get detailed cabinetry measurements as well. So you'll get your upper, lower, any islands, and the wall area that it's taking up and the floor area that it's taking up, those 2D floor plans, 3D sketch, and any damage photos you take within that. Now, one thing to note about our frequently asked questions. One of the questions is, do we need to download the app? So yes, and there's a few reasons why an app provides a better experience than going to a website or just accessing the camera phone. So for one, we know a lot of these plans happen in areas where there's little to no cell coverage. You need that in order to load a web page. With Hover, that's not a problem. You can just do the scan, and when you get back to the coverage online, all the photos will be uploaded in that background scan. Two, if you want to do the instant turnaround time with LiDAR, I know that Angel noted that with that universal non-LiDAR, it is around a 3-hour turnaround time, but with LiDAR, it is basically instant turnaround time. You're getting that report right away. You do have to have an app for that. So that's not available on a web-based solution anywhere at this time. So it leverages software and sensors on your phone. If you're doing things like AR and AR processing, the Active guidance you saw in the demo is provided with that. So again, all of these things are needed for the app. It also provides that fraud detection because it is enabling that location data, so we know that you are in the correct place. So let's talk about some additional questions that I get. So another big one is, what scenarios can I use this in? I heard that a lot in the chat. You know, fire, total loss. These are the scenarios that interiors works best in. Now, total fire losses, no. We do need to have those walls there, enough walls. It doesn't have to be all of it, but enough walls to be able to get a basic scan of that area. Now, smoke damage we can definitely get for you if there's no power or if it's dark in that area. You just want to provide additional lighting. We have improved that, so even if it says it's a little dim, it's still able to provide you those measurements. But to get it as accurate as possible, you do want to provide that additional lighting. So as we noted, you know, using the flashlight on the phone works, any additional lighting. Cabinets, we do again provide you with your lower, upper, and island cabinet measurements and blocking within the estimate. Now, for cabinetry and built-ins to be pulled into the estimate in Xactimate, you do have to have the integration turned on for that. We provide you with these angled walls, oddly shaped entrances, curved walls. Clutter was a big thing. So yes, if it is like a hoarder situation, if there is stuff just floor to ceiling, you can't see the walls for the ceiling and floor, it may not be the best option. For that particular room, you may need to get a hand measurement for. However, just to let you know, we're going to provide you with all the room measurements that are able to be built and let you know if anything is not. So even if 1 or 2 rooms aren't able to be built for, let's say it's too cluttered, not enough lighting, you're still going to get everything else. However, this particular room here is still able to be built. Yes, there's a lot of clutter, but we're still able to see the floor. We're able to see these the door entrances. We're able to see the wall. They just walked around this as best as possible to get that scan, and we're still able to provide that for you. small rooms, just doing that painting method, maybe even just standing in the doorway and just, doing the painting method around, leaning in to get the area you're standing in, we can provide that for you. And just an example that, yes, these were actual claims that were captured with Hover Interiors, and these are those floor plans that were provided. So we see those cabinetry blocks. We've got all of the areas. Again, a question on stairs. We don't build the stairs individually, but you do get the measurements of the walls surrounding the stairs. So you're still able to get that information. So a lot of things, go ahead and try it out. It's able to scan a lot more than you think it's going to. So let's recap for our storm season. Let's talk about being prepared. So again, as Angel noted, create that hover ahead of time, especially if you know you're going to be in an area that might have really low service. You're not billed for a draft job. If you do not complete that connection, if a report is not generated for you, you're not going to be billed for that scan. So just creating the draft is not going to charge you. So go ahead and have that draft job loaded and ready so it saves you time while you're on property. Keeping your Hover app up to date. If you're noting any issues, make sure that app is up to date. We're rolling out 5.13 right now. So the current app update is 5.12.1. And then that 5.13 is rolling out. So if you don't have it yet, just wait a few moments. You should see that update popping up if you have automatic updates on, or simply go to your Play Store and see if it's available. Pack your work lights, headlamps, and or flashlight, especially if you're going to be in an area with no power, basements, fire damage. Make sure you have enough external lighting. Now, the flashlight on your device, whether that be iPad or iPhone, works great. It's pretty bright. You just want to illuminate those areas as best as possible. And then toggle that upload on Wi-Fi only. So if you do get in an area that has no cell service, but Wi-Fi, or if you're in an area that you can finally have good service and Wi-Fi, then you can upload your job. So it's going to pause your upload until you get to an area with good signal. All right. I'm going to skip questions for a second because we don't have a lot of time. And I know Angel is trying to get to all of the questions in the chat and the Q&A. Again, if we don't get to it live, we will reach out with additional answers to you. So I do want to provide you with information about our support department. So we have an amazing support department. They are available 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. Monday through Friday. That's Eastern time, and 8 to 8 weekends and holidays. But if you contact them after hours, there's someone still going to get back to you. It just may be a few more minutes than expected. You can reach support within the app if you go to your settings and chat with support. You have the live chat. You can call support. That email support@hover.to is a managed email account. So if you respond to that email with questions about the deliverable you get, you can actually get a response back from someone in support. And all of our support people are real people. We don't use any AI or bots to get you help. So you are interacting with a live person. On the web portal, hover.to, you can also get to our help, our chat area. You're going to see this little smiley face chat icon in the lower right-hand corner of every screen, and you'll be able to reach them. You can also, in the app, we have this Visit the Help Center, and online, search for help or click on help. That's going to take you to our help center with multiple articles of everything you need. Sending an invitation to a homeowner, we have a section for that. Reminders on LiDAR best practices, universal best practices, exteriors, anything else, we have articles for that and videos to help you out. We also have our own insurance resource portal that we'll be sending you. In addition to that, I just want to note that Hover is constantly innovating and providing new tools for you to use in the field. So in addition to our measuring option, both exterior and interior, we are developing an inspection tool. So basically, it's a tool where you can identify, quickly tag any damage, do your inspections, and all of it will be in one tool. It also integrates with Exact and Cotality. So this is a great way to do your inspections, take your damage photos, anything else, quickly tag, document. All of those tags and the order of the photos will pull in to your estimating software in order and already annotated. from where you need. So that's in development. In addition to that, in super beta right now, we're just starting testing. We have what we called our guided estimates. So it's basically being able for roofing and siding for now, being able to create those Xactimate line items directly from Hover and then push it to Xactimate to have your estimate already written from one place. So all of this from the Hover app we are developing in future uses. So look out for that. I just want to get you excited for these new tools. And then finally, our resources. As we wrap up, you're going to be prompted to fill out a quick 1-minute survey right after this webinar. I know we're already at time, but real quick, take a moment to give us your feedback. We can continue to offer useful webinars. Again, you're going to get an email with today's recording as well as the deck to refer back to. We're going to include a link to our resource, Insurance Resource Hub, with a lot of great articles, cheat sheets, quick tips, and video tutorials. We're also excited to announce that Hover that we will be providing an integrations webinar next month on July 10th. There were a lot of questions on our integrations, how to get it set up, how it works for both Xactimate and Cotality. So we're going to provide you with a webinar specifically to talk about how to do the integrations, how to get set up, what that looks like within each platform. So answer all of those exact, what does it look like when we pull in that sketch, interiors and exteriors? What do you get? What's provided? How do you do that? So we have ways to eliminate having to do a drag and drop or download, upload the ESX and the XML files and simply pull them directly into your estimating software. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and end it. Again, I know that we've got a lot of questions that may not have been answered. Hopefully we were able to answer some of them. And then again, look out for that video, the email with all of our follow-up information. It may not come out till tomorrow, so give us some patience and time because these videos take a while to develop and but don't worry, we will get that out to you before next week for sure. I want to thank everybody for joining us today. Angel, I don't know if you have anything else you'd like to comment on.
Yes, I know we got a couple of questions about how to submit a test scan. Yes, you can absolutely do a free test scan. I will throw in a slide in the recap email with instructions on how to submit a free test scan. You're just going to have to make sure you follow those instructions so that we waive the fee. You're welcome to reach out to customer support and let them know you attended this webinar. And Angel and Anne Marie said you could have a free test scan, and we will take it from there. So
If
yes,
you are part of an organization, I do want to note that already has been using the interiors, but you haven't had a chance, talk to your manager first to make sure that is included. So if you're in a managed account that already has a contract with us or is working with us, talk to your manager to make sure that is okay as well.
Yes. If you're already a part of a major carrier or something like that, but if you're an IA, feel free to just reach out to support, let them know. And then again, I will include instructions for what to do on that test scan. Yeah.
Yeah. Larry, I do see your hand up, but we're not going to be able to take any live questions at this time. You can always reach out to us after the fact as well. So especially when you get all of the resources and information. I really want you to check out our resource hub. When you get that link, that should answer the majority of your questions, but you can always reach out as well. Thanks once again, everybody. I'm going to go ahead and close it out. Hopefully we will see you in our next webinar. Thank you again, everybody. Bye-bye. Have a great day.